Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Los Lobos de la Lucha, your weekly CMLL Post-Show Breakdown here on the BC Wrestle Pod channel. My name is Mikey. I am El Jefe of BC Wrestle Pod. I run the ones and twos, and I do a lot of the stuff behind the scenes. And as you can see, it is just me this evening on screen, at least. Adolfo and Papa Oso are dealing with some other stuff right now, but they send their love and their regards. So it is just gonna be me, and as always, our fourth unofficial co-host, Agent Lo-Fi Primo, in the chat. Who we got to show some love to him. Love you, thank you, Fred. And we have a new friendo here. Ooh, ¿Cómo estás? This is bien. This is great. Am I the real Rey Mysterio? Maybe. Who knows? But that's a secret. No, I'm just kidding. No, but that was funny. But I'm excited. I am here tonight to break down this past Friday's episode of Viernes Espectacular for CMLL. We are in the midst of Fantastica Mania, so a lot of our talent is currently in Japan at the moment. And so we are filling in the void with some fun stuff. And I'm really excited to talk about this episode in particular because we have the Torneo de Escuelas that kicked off the first hour of the show. So we're going to go into all of that. But before we do, if you're new here to BC Wrestle Pod, or if you've been rocking with us for a while now, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick is where you can find our lives. YouTube also has our edited version, so the condensed smaller bites, if you will. We also are on the social medias at BC WrestlePod, where you can see our report cards, our predictions for the pay per views, as well as some other fun stuff there as well. We also have some merchandise at our shop, bcwrestlepodshop.fourthwall.com, which is fantastic. And last but certainly not least, everybody, we pay for a lot of streaming services. So Twitch and YouTube ever so often. We have a link to our coffee bot where if you want to buy us a coffee and help us keep this train a going, so to speak. But we also understand that things are a little bit pricey right now, and you might not be in the financial stability to do so, but that is okay because we love y'all, and just being here and supporting us is good enough for us. Alrighty, now that I got that out of the way, let's get into it because I am stuffed up in my nose. I took some cold medicine, so we got like 15 minutes tops before things get crazy. But let's get into it, shall we? Again, I'm really excited to talk about this episode because we are in the midst of Torneo de Escuelas. So that is what kicked off the first hour of the show. So let's get into these matches, shall we? So before I introduce and kind of run down of this match, the first one, we got for the first hour of the show, we basically got relampago matches between all of the torneo, the escuelas participants. These are tag team relampago matches. So the winning team would move on to the next round, which happened on Tuesday, I believe. And then we get the finals this Friday. So this should be really fun. But kicking things off for the Torneo de Escuelas here, which is a lot of fun, we have our first matchup, which is Divino Dragon and Conquistador taking on Pantera Jr. and Psychotic. I'm trying to make sure to pronounce it. Yeah, I'm glad they mostly got the time they needed for the Escuela matches. Yeah, so we're gonna get to the final one because that unfortunately had that unfortunately had somebody go down. But other than that, I'm really glad that the first hour was dedicated to the Torneo de Escuelas. Ooh, excuse me. And I feel that everyone got to utilize a lot of time. So again, our first match is Divino Dragon and Conquistador versus Pantera Jr. and Psychotic. Again, I'm always hyped to be introduced to new folks. And again, it should be noted, I also like to thank CMLL for telling us who the trainers slash the teachers are for a lot of these schools. So for Divino Dragon and Conquistador, they, of course, are representing Ciudad Mexico, and their professor, if you will, is Otimo Dragoncito. And then Pantera Jr. and Psychotic are from Querétaro, and they professor is Rey Cometa. So shout out to Rey Cometa. We love him. Oh, that's good to hear, Primo. I'm glad nobody actually got injured. Everyone came out fine, which is important. Alrighty, so as far as this match goes, again, I'm gonna be biased when I talk a lot about this because these are truly brand spanking new people to me. But I really have love the Torneo de Escuelas because this introduces a lot of folks and a lot of the schools and people who are training these students. But I really did enjoy this match. I will say, I think by the end of this, for me personally, I really dig Psychotic, and I really do like his style of wrestling. This was a blast, and I'm gonna continue to say that for a bunch of these matches because these boys brought everything out, and each of the Escuela matches they brought everything out to showcase, and this was definitely a lot of fun. The fun thing for lucha nerds like me is you could really see each team wrestle like their trainers. And honestly, even though I'm not a big nerd, I'm slowly getting there for lucha libre. I hope to be as cool as you, Primo. I want to grow up and be like you and be cool with my lucha libre knowledge. This was really, really fun. I really did enjoy this match. I'm pretty much a fan of the whole Pantera family style. You know what? I dig Psychotic, but I also really enjoyed Pantera Jr. too. I was just like, ooh, this should be fun. I had a blast. This was really, really great. This is fantastic. I had a blast with this one. This was super fun to watch. Again, I'm going to continue to say this for all the Escuela matches because we only got 10 minutes each match. but it was still worth it. And in my personal opinion, it was a lot of fun. But by the end of this, it would be Pantera Jr. and Psychotic who would get the win over Divino Dragon and Conquistador. And they will be moving on to the next round, which would be happening later in the week. And so we go from our first match into our second Escuela match. So this is, of course, the second one. So we have Domino and Cerebro Negro Jr. taking on Tenochca and Kimba. So I got to make sure I pronounce all these names right, right? So for Domino and Cerebro Negro Jr., they are representing CDMX, so Ciudad Mexico, with their Profesor being Virus, and Tenochca and Kimba are also representing CDMX, but their Profesor is Volador Jr. So these are Virus and Volador Jr.'s kids, if you will, in terms of their students. Um, I think I really enjoyed Denochka a lot in this match. I really dig his style. I think this was really cool. Kimba was really interesting for me. Again, I have nothing but positive things to say because this is my first real introduction to them, and first impressions matter. Cerebro Negro Jr. and his father, especially, are legends in IWRG Arena Now Calpan, which I love it. It's fantastic. So, oh man, this was also another fun one as well. Again, it was just a constant go, go, go between everyone, and it was fantastic. I had a blast with this one too. I think what makes the Torneo de Escuelas really fun for me is the fact that these are new individuals and these are new people to me, but I had a blast watching them. Again, I think by the end of this, I came out becoming a big fan of Tenochca, but I also do like the background information. Like you're giving Primo that we have a lot of these students whose parents are legends in different areas of Lucha Libre. This is really, really good. Agreed on Tenochka was a little disappointed with his Tuesday match after seeing this one. Oh, that's a shame. Yeah, that's a shame to hear because he had a really fun showing and a really good showing here, and I was rooting for him in this one. But as the saying goes, you win some, you lose some. But I thought this was a really fun match, and it would be Tenochka and Kimba who would get the win over Domino and Cerebro Negro Jr. to move on to the next round on Tuesday. And from here, we get into our third Torneo de Escuelas match. Ooh! Okay, I think this I'm biased, but I feel like for me personally, I had a lot of fun watching this one. Now, I'm not saying that this was the best match, but I think this was probably my favorite in terms of from beginning to end. I really did like all the action that we got in this one. But we have our third Torneo de Escuelas match. This is Camaleon Jr. and Karma Uno taking on Black Warrior Jr. and Makara. Um, Makara is probably my favorite in this group of four. It really does. Ooh, interesting. This was the one match where I thought the wrong team won. All right, we'll get into that in a little bit. But Cabelleon Jr. and Carmen Uno representing CDMX with their professor being Tony Salazar and Black Warrior Jr. and Macra, representing Guadalajara with their professor being Satanico. So again, really, really fun stuff. Interesting. I'm not gonna lie. I like Makara. I like his presentation. I really like this. But you know what? The more I think about it, I do think that Cabelleon Jr. and Carva Uno, I thought they should have won too. But again, I don't know all the history behind it. But I really did dug Karma Uno's stuff. Ooh. I'm a big fan of Karma's work, and they really showed out in this one. Love that too. I really enjoyed it. I think presentation wise, I liked Makara, but I think wrestling wise, I think Karma is also really, really good. The other team has stronger family ties, usually wins. Good to know. I swear we need to figure out a way for us two to sit down so I can collect all this information and create a telenovela series of like for our channel. I swear. If you want to help me out, man, if Primo, if you got the tea, then we can find a way to sit down and you can fill me in on all the drama, and then we can just create our own videos about all the family histories and lucha libre, all the drama. Like we have our own telenovela here on BC WrestlePod. I really okay, but back to the match itself. Again, Black Warrior Jr. and Makara won. Presentation wise, Makara was great, but I think wrestling wise, I think Karma was probably my favorite. Not even gonna lie. But again, this was a really fun one. I had a good time with this one. And then we move on to this one. Jesus Christ. Okay. So again, this is our fourth Torneo de Escuelas match. This is Magnetico and Diamante Escarlata taking on the team of Estudiante Jr. Yes, I read that correctly. And Feroz, who is, I believe we have seen before a little bit. So, of course, we have Magnetico and Diamante Escarlata representing CDMX, which of course is always going to end up being a big showcase for our, Ciudad de Mexico folks, which to no surprise here. However, they are being represented in terms of their professor being Arturo Beristain, which is really, really cool to see. And I think I pronounced it right. But then, of course, you had Estudiante Jr. and Feroz also representing CDMX with their professor being Ultimo Guerrero. And I'm just like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, yep, I think I know who gonna win. But I still had a fun time regardless of me knowing what is happening. Right. But I had a blast with this one. I really, really enjoyed everyone here. Been a fan of Magnetico for a while now. Love his work, but I knew they were losing to Ultimo Guerrero's boys. They look great too. Yeah, as soon as I saw who their professor was, I was just like, okay, I have a feeling of who's gonna win this one, and I was correct because it Estudiante Junior and Feroz would end up being the winner of this match. Moving on to Tuesday, but this was really, really solid work. I thought they all worked really well together. I thought the chemistry was really there. And this was just another fun one, too. Again, I'm going to continue to say that for the rest of the time here because these Torneo de Escuelas matches were quick, they were fun, and it definitely showcased a lot of people that I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing for this year and next year of CMLL. From here, we get we get into our semifinal, so or not the semifinal, but our fifth Torneo de Escuelas match. This is Conjuro and Sombra Diabolica Jr. taking on King Rex and Prometeo. So, in particular for this match, Conjuro and Sombra Diabolica Jr., they are representing Puebla, and their professor is Black Tiger. And King Rex and Prometeo are representing Saltillo, which their art or this does not tell us who their professor is. Now, I had no idea who King Rex was before this show. But let me tell you, the wrestling internet is a funny thing because everybody on the internet was already clamoring for King Rex, saying how he's great and he's a really fun person and they're looking forward to seeing him. I'm like, well, damn, y'all. I'm trying to figure out. It's crazy. So happy for my Saltia boys. They shouldn't be as far as they are. Tell me about it. By the end of this match, I ended up becoming a big fan of King Rex. I love his mask. I love what he was working with. This was a blast too. I'm also a sucker for because I love a good gothic aesthetic. I love me some spoopy stuff. So of course, visual wise, I was drawn to Conjuro, and I really love like his scarecrow esque presentation and his mask and everything. This was a lot of fun. But yeah, I became a big fan of King Rex by the end of this. I was just like, this is amazing. Please never change. I love good wrestling like this. Oh, okay. They're not attached to any trainer. They just work their ass off. Yes, we love to hear that. Okay. So that makes it even better. And honestly, I think that, you know what, knowing that makes me feel so much cooler and makes me feel even more happier for King Rex and Prometeo, who do beat Conjuro and Sombra Diabolica Jr. in this fifth match. Now we get into the final of the six Torneo de Escuelas matches. So, of course, here we have the team of Engendro and Jay Ortega taking on the team of Tornado and Rey Pegasus. So, of course, Engendro and Jay Ortega are representing Monterrey. Oh, they are also brothers. Hell yeah. We'd love to see that for King Rex and them. So, fantastic. So, Engendro and Jay Ortega are representing Monterrey, Mexico, and Tornado and Rey Pegasus are representing CDMX with their professor being Magia Blanca. We love to see that. This is where this is where the backboard came out at the very end of the match, but it is what it is. Jay Ortega reminds me of a bootleg a bootleg Johnny from Mortal Kombat. I love to see it. I think of all of this, I think of all six of the Escuela matches. I really enjoyed this one, but for me, this one was my least favorite to me personally. Though I will say, I think I became a big fan of Ray Pegasus by the end of this. This man is crazy. I enjoyed it, but I still had a fun time with this. Even my least favorite match was really, really good. Tornado looked better than I've ever seen him in IWRG. The CMLL system really working for him. And honestly, that's what we want. We want more folks to come over here to CMLL and be on a part of the mainstay and be a part of the weekly shows, which is really, really good. Again, this was the final Torneo de Escuelas match in terms of like the prelims, if that's what you want to call it, which saw Tornado, and Ray Pegasus defeat Jay Ortega and Engendro for the win. Ray Pegasus had what will probably be dive of the year. Listen, the clips are already out there on the internet. I was spoiled. I saw it was crazy. I had a good time with that. So I'm like, the internet is already making clips, and I appreciate the internet because that was a crazy dive, which was so fun. So again, Tornado and Rey Pegasus beat Engendro and Jay Ortega, and that is all of the Escuela matches for the first hour of the show. That was a lot to get through, but I had a blast watching this, and I'm looking forward to the finals on Friday. So now let's get into what is the second half of our card, which of course is going to be the remainder of our CMLL Viernes Espectacular show. So after all of the Torneo de Escuelas matches were had, and we had winners advancing to do the Tuesday show, we kind of get back into our regular scheduled action. So we see a relevo australiano de Amazonas. So we see a 3-on-3 match. We see the team of La Catalina, Kira, and Akari taking on the team of Persephone, Dark Silhouette, and Olympia. Now, granted, that to me, this again, with everything that has been happening over the last week, this was pretty much a tune-up match for Persephone, Dark Silhouette, and Olympia, specifically Persephone and Olympia, as they would go on to be together in a tag team match where they won the match against Tessa and her partner. So this Friday, the Olympia and Persephone are going at it to see who is going to get the chance to face Mercedes Monet for the CMLL Women's Championship next Friday for the Women's Day show, which I'm excited about. Can't wait to see how that goes, especially because we're getting some women from around the world, like Megan Bain in Mexico is going to be crazy, and I'm excited about it. As far as this match goes, again, this was fun, and it was back to our scheduled programming post, Torneo de Escuelas hour. This was a nice and proper trios match. Kind of felt good on the show. It really did. I think this was a really solid match from all six of these Amazonas. This was a lot of fun. I had a good time watching this. I'm a big, of course, we're a big fans of Persephone, but I'm really liking Olympia. being back here in CMLL. Her excursion to Japan was fun to watch earlier this year, but I'm very excited to see her and Persephone go at it this Friday. As spoiler alert, Persephone and Olympia won that tag team match, so now they will be facing each other to see who's going on next Friday at the Women's Day show to face Mercedes for the title. Solid match all around, and it was just nice. It was really fun and nice to get it back into the proper regular scheduled programming that was CMLL. So then in our semi-main event, in a weird twist of events, we have a championship match for the Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling Men's Championship. So this sees the champion, Josh Alexander, taking on the challenger in Esfinge. And this was two big boys doing what big boys do best, which is stuff. I will say, as much as I love Josh Alexander, I do think that there is a little bit of working with the lucha style that he kind of needs to fix and, tune a little bit. But I still really enjoyed his performance. I love me some Josh Alexander. But of course, Esfinge is Esfinge, and I really do love Esfinge. So this was, I wasn't too worried about him. So I did end up getting to see the other Josh's counterpart in Giselle Shaw, who is the MLP Women's Champion. I'm trying to figure out. I think both matches were very solid. I think I'm leaning towards Giselle's match a little bit more than Josh's here, but I still thought this was a lot of fun. Josh Alexander and his Fiendhead really did throw down. Josh Alexander would retain the Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling Men's Championship, and it was really fun to watch Scott Demore. And again, watching all these people from around the world, usually when they come to Mexico, they end up being, the heel or the rudo, which is really, really fun to watch. This was a good match, better than Alexander's last appearance. With that out of the way, I do not give two hoots about MLP. Honestly, I understand that, Primo. Bad first impression for me. And honestly, you know what? Uh, you're not wrong because I feel like MLP needs to solidify a roster because, like, what was it last week or the week before? You had mentioned that MLP is kind of like a put together roster of like people from independents and other companies who happen to also be Canadian. And you're not exactly wrong. I want to see Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling do really, really well, but we need to solidify an actual roster first that doesn't include people who are signed to other companies and who are not just Canadian. But I understand. And I'm going to wait until the end of this because there were some announcements that were made in terms of what is going down in April, which is crazy to me. But again, Josh Alexander retains the MLP Men's Championship. Main event time. This is a Quadrangular Internacional. So this is CMLL talent and AEW talent. So of course we have Neon, Johnny Consejo, Angel de Oro, and Daniel Garcia in a Quadrangular Internacional. I thought this was fine. I think this was a fun main event. I don't think I would write home about it, so to speak, but it was a lot of fun to watch these four interact. Um, I'm not gonna lie, Daniel Garcia to me was kind of like the odd man out in this one, but you know what? He's getting these reps in here in Mexico, so I can't be mad. Johnny is gonna be Johnny everywhere he goes, which is really, really fun. And yeah, I thought this was a fun way to end the show. I don't think this was the best match, but I had a good time with this one. Now, it would be Johnny Consejo who would end up picking up the victory here. Um, but yeah, and this is where it gets crazy, right? So I'll be honest, I did not take the hair match challenge after the match series, as that kind of happens a lot. And honestly, I was like, oh, they're just kidding. And then when I saw the poster today, I'm like, oh, damn, they're actually mean it. So yeah, and then it becomes serious. I was just like, well, that escalated quickly. So let's just jump into it, Primo, shall we? Johnny wins. And guys, this is getting out of hand, right? Because they're just like, oh, we're going to do a hair versus hair match. I'm like, okay, we'll see. But then at the same time, then it actually gets announced. I'm like, oh shit, it did become serious. What are we doing? But to give you a little bit of preview of this Friday's Viernes Espectacular, we kick things off with the primera lucha de Pequeños Estrellas. So this is Angelito and Galaxy taking on Menos Uno y Menos Dos. Then segunda lucha en relevos australianos. So we have Magia Blanca, Hijo de Pantera, and El Adras taking on Felino Jr., El Cobarde, and Guerrero Maya Jr., which should be a lot of fun. Then coming up third, we have the Gran Final de Torneo de Escuelas 2026. So we have the final three teams, which is representing Querétaro, Pantera Jr., and Psychotic, CDMX, Estudiante Jr., and Feroz. And also representing CDMX is Tornado and Ray Pegasus. So this should be interesting. My bet going in is if Claudio wins, Angela wins, and vice versa. I don't think CMLL wants to end on two bummers again. Hey, you know what? That is very true. So, speaking of which, after the Torneo de Escuelas final, we are getting the Gran Final de la Eliminatoria para encontrar retadora al Campeonato Mundial Femenil de CMLL. That was a lot to say. And translating that to English, this is basically the number one contenders match for the CMLL Women's Championship, where we will see Persephone and Olympia going at it, and the winner will go to face Mercedes at the Women's Day show, which is exciting. Then, semi-main event, we had the triangular por el Campeonato Mundial Completo de CMLL. So this is the CMLL World Heavyweight Championship. Claudio Castagnoli defending the title against both Euphoria and Akuma. And then, Lord help us, we are getting a hair versus hair match. Caballera versus Caballera, which is seeing Angel de Oro and Johnny Consejo. Somebody is going bald by the end of it, and it is going to be crazy and glorious. So that's pretty much it for the post-show breakdown stuff. But I do have a couple of other things to talk about really quickly because today, I would like to thank the internet for showing me these things. Over WrestleMania weekend, it's gonna be crazy. Ooh, but I can very much see an Angel loss as it could legit builds mega heat for Homenaje de Dos Leyendas or an aniversario match for Neon Dorada Zanduka. Ooh, I would be here for that. That would be amazing. Alrighty. But back to what I was talking about. So today, it was announced that, of course, a little bit of backstory over WrestleMania weekend, which is happening in Vegas. So the Fed is doing, WWE is doing WrestleMania. A lot of independent and smaller promotions always end up coming together in the same city that WrestleMania is in to put on events. And so there's a couple of different things going on. GCW is bringing back the Collective, which is going to be a string of GCW and GCW partner shows. But then it was announced that over the same weekend at the Palms, we are getting our own mega show, which includes the talent and some of the roster of Stardom, MLP, TJPW, and CMLL. Apparently, they're doing a mega show with a bunch of these folks, and I'm like, okay. But it does make a lot of sense, especially some of our CMLL talent is heading up to Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling's Uprising in March. So why not keep the working relationship going? So there's a lot of wrestling going on over Mania weekend between the Collective and then everything happening at the Palms. And then also we cover WrestleMania here on this channel. It is a lot, but I am super excited. But Primo, thank you so much for hanging out with me and my stuffy nose, which is crazy. But we have some fun stuff coming up. Yeah. Ooh, yep. That's what I heard, and that's what I read too. It's actually being put together by Mojo Rawley's Promotion. So shout out to Mojo for doing some stuff. So I really hope that it's good because I think it's gonna be fun. And that is also not the CMLL show is also not the only Lucha Libre show going on. The Collective has Gringo Locos World of Lucha show, for the Collective, which of course I'm gonna be watching because more lucha libre is good for everyone. That's all I say. All right, but that is it for me tonight here. He's got that money for sure. Hell yeah, he does. So we're gonna wrap things up here. I had a blast tonight. Thank you, Primo, for being here. We still got a fun week ahead of us. Tomorrow night, the Progress Wrestling crew will be here to break down the For the Love of Progress 4. Friday, we have our TNA post-show breakdown, and then we end the week on Saturday with a live watch-along of WWE's Elimination Chamber with our friends Nick from the Nick Happy Hour Wrestling Podcast and Matt and Sean of the If We Had the Pencil podcast. We love them for sure. But I'm excited. This upcoming Friday show is going to be great. And to kind of end on a little bit more of a serious note, I would myself and the rest of the BC WrestlePod family would love to send our love and our condolences and our prayers and our moral support and anything else we can do for everyone being affected. What's going down in Mexico right now with, in Puerto Vallarta and Ensenada, and as well as a couple of other cities that are kind of coming under fire with everything that's been going on down there in terms of, the cartel and everything that's going down. So, BC WrestlePod supports our people in Mexico's, and we love them dearly. And I know we don't get political on this channel, but it is important that as basic human beings, we take care of each other and we love each other. And yeah, we send our condolences and our love to everybody who is being affected right now. What's going down in Mexico? But sorry to end on a little bit of a somber note, but we do support everyone. And thank you for being here tonight. So from all of us here at BC WrestlePod to you at home, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We'll see you tomorrow for Progress Chapter 191. But until then, sayonara, adios, and until next time, peace.